The galaxy had always been a place of wonders and mysteries, a place where civilizations rose and fell in the blink of an eye. Most alien races had long since explored every corner of the stars, cataloging species and planets. But there was one place that had always puzzled the galaxy's most advanced civilizations, Earth. A small, primitive world on the edge of a distant star system, barely even noticeable on the galactic maps. Yet, it held a strange, magnetic pull that no one could fully understand. The Xeraths, a highly advanced alien race known for their vast knowledge and scientific expertise, had spent centuries charting the universe. They had encountered countless species, some friendly, others hostile, but none like humanity. Earth had been of little interest to them. For a long time, they believed it was nothing more than a primitive planet where only a few backward civilizations existed. But one day, everything changed. It started with a faint signal, an anomaly. It was weak, almost inaudible, but there was something about it that caught the attention of the Xeraths. Their advanced detection systems could pick up even the faintest of signals in deep space, but this one was different. It was not like anything they had ever encountered. The signal came from Earth, a planet that they had long since dismissed as unimportant. The Xeraths quickly initiated a deeper scan of the planet. What they discovered left them stunned. Earth was far more advanced than they had ever imagined. They could see the growth of complex cities, the rise of technological marvels, and, most shockingly, the rapid advancement of human culture. But that was not all. What stood out the most to the Xeraths was humanity's resilience, a quality that no one had expected. Over the centuries, Earth had faced countless natural disasters, wars, and even near-extinction events. Yet, humanity had always found a way to survive. They had rebuilt, learned from their mistakes, and continued to push forward. The Xeraths had studied species across the galaxy, but no race had shown the same level of resilience as humanity. They were surviving against all odds, and that intrigued the Xeraths. The commander of the Xeraths, a calculating and strategic mind, stared at the data. His species had long believed that survival in the galaxy depended on strength, intelligence, and diplomacy. But humans had something else, something they couldn't quite put their finger on. Something they hadn't seen in any other species. Curiosity turned to fascination. The commander ordered a deep investigation into Earth's history. He wanted to understand the secret behind humanity's persistence. How had a species, so often on the brink of destruction, survived and thrived in such a hostile environment? What made them different from the others in the galaxy? And most importantly, could humanity be a powerful ally, or a dangerous threat? As the Xeraths continued their research, the commander made a bold decision: they would reveal themselves to humanity. It was a risk, but one he felt was worth taking. They needed to understand this species better, to determine whether Earth was a potential ally or something else entirely. The Xeraths had learned the hard way that underestimating a species could lead to disastrous consequences. The first contact was planned to be quiet and unobtrusive. They would observe from the shadows, studying humanity without revealing themselves. But as they began to get closer to Earth, something strange happened. The planet's rapid technological development seemed to be accelerating, and the humans were on the verge of something even bigger, something that could change the balance of power in the galaxy. The commander's mind raced. He realized that if humanity were to ever discover the existence of aliens, the result could be catastrophic. Earth's technology was evolving fast, and if humans learned the secrets of the stars, they could become a force to be reckoned with. But would they be ready for the responsibility that came with it? At that moment, the commander understood something crucial. Humanity's potential was limitless, but so was their unpredictability. The galaxy was watching, and soon, Earth would be thrust into the greater galactic stage, whether they were ready or not. As the Xeraths prepared for the next phase of their mission, they were left with a daunting question: what would happen if the galaxy found out about Earth? Could humanity handle what lay ahead, or would they fall to the same destructive impulses that had plagued so many civilizations before them? The answer, the Xeraths knew, would come soon enough. For now, Earth was still a secret, one that was about to change the fate of the entire galaxy. The Zareths had watched humanity for weeks now, observing from their cloaked ships orbiting Earth. At first, their plan had been simple: gather information, study the humans from afar, and then report back to the Galactic Council. But as time passed, the commander of the Zareths found himself growing more and more fascinated with the people of Earth. Their history was filled with violence, war, and near extinction, yet they refused to die. Every time their world was torn apart, they rebuilt. Every time they fell, they rose again. There was something about humanity that couldn't be ignored. He sat in his command chair, staring at the data on the screen. The humans had reached a tipping point, advancements in their technology had accelerated in recent years, and they were on the verge of discovering space travel. They were on the edge of becoming something greater, but they were unaware of the larger galactic forces watching them. The Zareths had always believed that first contact with a species should be a calculated, controlled event. But with humanity, they were unsure. Would they panic? Would they attack first, as they had done with other alien species in their history? Or would they accept the reality that they were not alone in the universe? The decision was made. The Zareths would reveal themselves, but carefully. They would not show their full power, instead, they would make their presence known in small, manageable ways. No sudden invasions, no grand shows of force. Just enough to test the waters and gauge humanity's reaction. On Earth, a quiet, isolated desert region was chosen for the first contact. It was a place with minimal human presence, no major cities, no government interference, just barren land under the stars. It was the perfect spot for an experiment in first contact. As the cloaked Zaroth ship descended silently through the atmosphere, the humans on the ground below had no idea of the incredible event unfolding above them. The ship touched down without a sound, its energy shield absorbing all impact. The beings that emerged were unlike anything the humans had ever imagined. They were tall, their skin a shimmering silver, their eyes large and deep, exuding an intelligence that seemed almost overwhelming. But they were peaceful. Their mission was to communicate, not to conquer. The first human to encounter the Zareths was Dr. Amelia Grant, a brilliant physicist who had been studying the stars for years. She had been working at a nearby observatory, and when the first strange signal was detected, she had immediately been called to investigate. As she approached the desert site where the signal had come from, she felt a strange sense of both excitement and fear. What she found there was beyond anything she could have imagined. A strange craft, unlike anything she had ever seen, sat in the middle of the barren land. As she approached cautiously, she was met by two of the Zaroth beings. Their gaze was intense, but not hostile. The Zareths spoke through a translator device, their language coming across as clear as if it were her own. Dr. Grant was stunned. These were no mere visitors, these were beings from the stars, and they had come to Earth. She didn't know what to do. Part of her wanted to run, but another part of her knew that this moment was history. The Zareths introduced themselves, explaining their peaceful intentions. They had been watching humanity for a long time, intrigued by its potential. The commander's voice came through the translator device: "We have observed your world. You are unlike any species we have encountered. You survive, you adapt, and you fight for your survival. We have come to learn." Dr. Grant, still in shock, tried to process everything. She knew that if these beings were who they claimed to be, they could offer humanity advanced technologies and knowledge. But she also knew that there were dangers. The Zareths weren't just curious, they had an agenda. She could feel it in her gut. As she stood there, surrounded by the quiet, alien presence, a terrifying thought crossed her mind: what if the Zareths weren't the only ones watching? What if other alien races had also taken note of humanity's sudden rise? The Zareths had made contact, but they were not the only species in the galaxy with their eyes set on Earth. As if on cue, a sudden, piercing alarm sounded in Dr. Grant's communication device. It was a signal from the government. Earth had detected strange ships entering the outer reaches of the solar system. These ships weren't the Zareths. Humanity wasn't alone. The Zareths looked at Dr. Grant with a mixture of curiosity and concern. Their sensors had detected the incoming ships as well. The commander spoke again, his voice calm but urgent. "We have come to warn you. You are not alone. And the other races may not be as peaceful as we are. You must prepare for what is coming." Dr. Grant was left with more questions than answers. Who were these other beings? And why had the Zareths chosen this moment to make contact with humanity? One thing was certain: Earth had just stepped onto a galactic stage much bigger than anyone could have ever imagined. And the Zareths, despite their peaceful nature, were about to learn that humanity's rise in the galaxy would be far more complicated than they had anticipated. The fate of Earth was now tied to the stars, and the galaxy was watching. News of Earth's first contact with the Zareths spread through the galaxy like wildfire. The ancient, vast reaches of space had long been home to countless alien species, some advanced, some primitive, but all had one thing in common: they had never considered humanity a true threat. Earth was a distant, quiet planet, and its inhabitants had always been perceived as too young, too chaotic to ever make a meaningful impact in the greater galactic order. But everything changed the moment the Zareths made their presence known. The Zareths had not just discovered Earth, they had chosen to reveal it to the galaxy. For the first time, alien races realized that humanity wasn't just another insignificant species clinging to life in the farthest corner of the universe. Earth's resilient nature, its relentless drive to survive, and its sudden burst of technological advancement made it a fascinating enigma. But it also made Earth a target. As the Zareths sent their transmissions across the galaxy, the Galactic Council, a massive assembly of the most powerful alien races, convened in urgent session. The revelation of humanity's existence and the Zareths' warning about the dangers Earth faced ignited heated debates among the council members. Each species had its own agenda, and not all of them were inclined to protect the fragile, young planet. The Wrath, a warlike and expansionist species from the outer rim of the galaxy, immediately saw the discovery of Earth as an opportunity. The Wrath had conquered countless planets in their ruthless pursuit of power, and they saw humanity as a potential resource. Earth's advanced technology, combined with their unique resilience, could make the humans valuable allies, or better yet, slaves. Their leader, a fierce general known as Vrex, saw no reason to wait. Earth would soon be a new colony in the Wrath Empire, and nothing would stand in their way. Meanwhile, the Xylorians, a peaceful species dedicated to scientific exploration and the preservation of life, had a very different perspective. They were horrified by the Wrath's reaction and immediately began to advocate for Earth's protection. They had witnessed firsthand the destructive tendencies of species like the Wrath, and they feared that humanity would be caught in the crossfire of a galactic war. The Zareths, who had only recently made contact with Earth, watched as the Council's factions began to take shape. They had hoped that the galaxy would see humanity as a potential ally, and equal to stand alongside the more established civilizations. But now, they realized the truth: humanity was caught in a dangerous game, and the stakes were higher than anyone had imagined. Back on Earth, the situation was becoming more urgent by the day. Dr. Amelia Grant and the other human leaders were scrambling to understand the full extent of the galactic politics they had been thrust into. The Zareths had warned them of the dangers ahead, but no one had prepared humanity for the reality of intergalactic diplomacy. As the Zareths' warning about the Wrath's intentions began to sink in, it became clear that humanity had a choice to make: would they align with the Zareths and the peaceful Xylorians? Or would they fall prey to the aggressive Wrath, who would see Earth as little more than a stepping stone for their empire? In the face of this overwhelming threat, Earth's leaders knew they had to act fast. The Zareths had agreed to provide humanity with advanced technology to help defend themselves, but it was clear that technology alone would not be enough. Humanity needed to prepare for war, and not just any war, but a war with entire galactic empires. A small group of human leaders, including Dr. Grant, had been given access to a Zaroth warship. Though their ships were far less advanced than the ships of the Wrath or even the Xylorians, the Zareths had begun to teach humanity the basics of space combat, defense systems, and the construction of shields capable of withstanding high-powered alien weaponry. It was their only hope of survival. But humanity wasn't just relying on alien technology. They were determined to fight with their own spirit, their own ingenuity, and their own resilience. Dr. Grant worked tirelessly with military experts, engineers, and scientists to design new defense strategies and weapons based on human strengths, adaptability, creativity, and sheer determination. They had no time to waste. The Wrath were coming, and they were coming fast. While the Earth governments prepared for the worst, the Zareths were making their own moves behind the scenes. The commander, who had seen humanity's potential, was beginning to question his own people's role in this conflict. Would they simply watch as Earth was overrun by the Wrath? Or would they act to ensure that humanity had a chance to thrive? The Zareths were divided. Some believed in humanity's potential and wanted to protect them, while others saw Earth as a mere pawn in the larger galactic chess game. As tensions between the Zareths, the Wrath, and the Xylorians mounted, it became clear that the fate of Earth was no longer in humanity's hands alone. The galaxy's eyes were on them, and every move they made would shape the future of their planet. The next few weeks would be critical. Humanity was preparing for the fight of its life, and it had no idea what awaited them in the stars. But one thing was certain, Earth would not go down without a fight. And the galaxy would never look at them the same way again. The tensions in the galaxy had reached a boiling point. The Zareths, the Xylorians, and the Wrath all had their sights set on Earth, and each had different ideas on what to do with the newly discovered, resilient species. But for the people of Earth, the threat felt very real. Governments scrambled to prepare their populations for an inevitable conflict. Humanity had never faced a war like this, not one involving intergalactic forces, and every move could mean the difference between survival and extinction. Dr. Amelia Grant and the small team of human leaders, military strategists, and scientists had spent weeks devising a plan of defense. The Zareths had provided advanced technology, including powerful shields and new propulsion systems, but it wasn't enough. Even with these gifts, Earth's military was outmatched. The Wrath fleet was vast, and their brutal tactics were legendary. But humanity had one weapon that the other galactic species did not, their sheer will to survive. The Zareths had warned Dr. Grant that the Wrath would not stop until they had Earth under their control. The Wrath had already begun to mobilize their forces, sending fleets of warships into Earth's orbit. But the Zareths didn't want humanity to fall to the Wrath without a fight. They had given Earth a fighting chance, but would humanity be ready to use it? Dr. Grant, along with the war hero, Colonel James Harper, was tasked with leading the human defense against the impending invasion. Colonel Harper, a decorated soldier with years of experience, had fought in countless battles on Earth, but nothing prepared him for what was coming. This was not just about human survival, this was about standing up to an overwhelming force from the stars. The first battle took place just outside the Earth's atmosphere. The Wrath warships, massive and imposing, appeared without warning. They didn't care about diplomacy or communication. Their fleet simply descended upon Earth's orbit, ready to crush any resistance. But humanity's new technology, a result of their partnership with the Zareths, gave them a chance to fight back. Earth's fleet, still small compared to the Wrath juggernauts, engaged them with everything they had. Colonel Harper stood at the helm of the command ship, directing the human forces. He could feel the weight of the moment. The eyes of the galaxy were on them, and humanity had no choice but to defend itself. The first exchange of fire came fast. The Wrath's weapons were powerful, and the human ship struggled to match their firepower. But humanity's resilience showed through. They adapted quickly, using their shields to absorb the incoming blasts and retaliating with calculated strikes. For the first time, the Wrath realized they were up against more than just a primitive species. Earth wasn't giving up without a fight. The battle raged for hours, with Earth's ships sustaining heavy damage but holding their ground. The Wrath were ruthless, but they hadn't counted on the creativity and unyielding spirit of the human forces. Meanwhile, on Earth's surface, Dr. Grant and her team were working feverishly to prepare for the worst. The Zareths had provided humanity with a weapon, a new kind of energy-based technology that could potentially turn the tide of the war. But there was a problem. The weapon required a rare, precious element that could only be found on Earth itself. Time was running out, and the Wrath were pushing closer. In an underground laboratory hidden in the mountains, Dr. Grant worked with a team of scientists to build the weapon. The device could generate a powerful energy burst strong enough to cripple an entire fleet, but it required an immense amount of energy to charge. The weapon's success relied on humanity's ability to harness the element before the Wrath destroyed everything. As the days passed, the situation grew more desperate. Earth's defenses were holding, but just barely. Every moment was a battle for survival. But humans, especially under the leadership of Colonel Harper, never gave up. They fought with everything they had. The war was brutal, and the death toll was rising, but humanity's resolve was stronger than ever. Back in the command center, Colonel Harper made a crucial decision. He knew that Earth's military couldn't keep the Wrath at bay forever. He needed a way to buy time, to allow Dr. Grant's team to finish the weapon. With no better option, Harper ordered a last-ditch mission, a suicide attack. He would lead a small team of fighters on a direct assault against the Wrath's flagship, hoping to buy the scientists enough time to finish their weapon. The mission was a long shot, but it was humanity's only hope. Harper and his team piloted their ships directly into the heart of the Wrath fleet, launching a series of devastating strikes that sent shockwaves through the enemy ranks. The Wrath fleet retaliated with all its might, but Harper's sacrifice allowed Earth's scientists to complete the weapon. Dr. Grant stood with the team as the weapon powered up. The air was thick with tension as the countdown began. The weapon's energy level surged, and for a moment, everything seemed to slow. Then, with a single flash of blinding light, the weapon fired. The energy burst struck the Wrath flagship, sending shockwaves through their fleet. The Wrath were thrown into chaos as their ships began to crumble. The tides of war had shifted, and humanity had delivered a devastating blow. But the battle wasn't over. Earth's survival had only just begun. In the chaos of the battle, with Earth's defenses still reeling and the Zereths observing from the shadows, one question remained: would humanity's strength be enough to ensure its future, or would the galaxy come crashing down on them before they had a chance to rise? The shockwave from the energy burst still rippled through space as the Wrath flagship exploded into 1,000 pieces. For a brief moment, it felt like the universe held its breath. The Wrath fleet, thrown into disarray by the loss of their command ship, began retreating into the vastness of space, their once imposing superiority now shattered by a single, bold strike from Earth. The galaxy was witnessing something unprecedented. Humanity had just made its mark on the stars. On Earth, celebrations erupted in every major city. The people had won their first major battle against a galactic power, but they knew the fight wasn't over. The Wrath had been dealt a severe blow, but their war machines were vast. This wasn't just about surviving a single battle. Humanity had to prove they could hold their ground and protect their homeworld from all corners of the galaxy. The victory had bought Earth some time, but the Wrath were regrouping. In the aftermath of the battle, Colonel James Harper and Dr. Amelia Grant stood in the command center of the newly formed Earth Defense Alliance, surrounded by top military officials and scientists. The Zereths had offered their guidance, but they had made it clear that Earth would be left to fight its own battles. The galaxy was watching, and Earth had to prove it could stand on its own. But the weight of the galaxy's expectations was heavy, and there was one more piece to the puzzle that Dr. Grant and her team had yet to uncover. The Zereths had given humanity a glimpse of the future, a future where humans could stand side by side with the most advanced civilizations. But for that to happen, humanity had to understand the true extent of the technology they'd been given. Dr. Grant had spent the days after the battle working tirelessly with the Zereths to decrypt a hidden message embedded within the technology they had received. It was not just a weapon. They had given humanity something far more important, the key to understanding the energy flows that powered the universe. It was a secret that could unlock new levels of scientific discovery, allowing humanity to leap ahead in ways they had never dreamed. The realization hit her like a freight train. Humanity had the potential to become one of the most powerful species in the galaxy, not just because of their resilience, but because of their ability to adapt and innovate. The Zareths saw it too. They had watched humanity pull itself from the brink of destruction time and time again. Now, it was time for Earth to make its next move. But as the days passed, Earth was not the only one adjusting to the aftermath of the battle. The Zareths, despite their alliance with humanity, were facing pressure from other galactic powers who saw Earth's rise as a threat. Some viewed the humans as a valuable asset, but others feared their potential. The Xylorians, who had long advocated for Earth's protection, stood as humanity's strongest ally, but the Wrath had already begun to rally their forces for a second wave of invasion. There were whispers in the Galactic Council that more species would soon turn their attention to Earth, either to conquer it or to form alliances. Earth's leaders, now more united than ever, knew they couldn't rely on just one victory to secure their future. Humanity had to prepare for whatever was coming next. In the months that followed, Dr. Grant and Colonel Harper worked together to create a new strategy, one that would not only defend Earth but also position humanity as a rising force in the galaxy. The Earth Defense Alliance began recruiting the best and brightest from all over the world, forming a unified military force unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Soldiers, scientists, engineers, and even diplomats were brought together under a single banner. The Earth forces were determined to demonstrate that they were more than just survivors. They were innovators. They were explorers. And they were ready to defend their world with everything they had. The Zareths remained in the shadows, providing humanity with additional technology and knowledge, but they made it clear that they would not intervene directly. The time had come for Earth to stand on its own 2 feet, and the galaxy needed to understand that humanity was no longer a fledgling species struggling to survive, it was now a force to be reckoned with. The first major diplomatic mission took place on Earth's newly established space station, where representatives from across the galaxy came to discuss the future of humanity's role in galactic affairs. The Xylorians, who had supported humanity from the beginning, were there to lend their aid, while the Zareths maintained a cautious but watchful presence. The Wrath, still recovering from their defeat, sent only a small delegation, unwilling to show weakness, but it was clear to everyone that Earth had earned its place at the table. Dr. Grant stood before the council, her voice steady and resolute. Humanity has endured the worst the galaxy has thrown at us, and we are still here. We've made mistakes, but we learn from them. We may not have the oldest civilizations or the most advanced technology, but we have something that no other species has, the will to survive and to thrive. Earth is ready to stand alongside you, not as a conqueror, but as a partner. The galaxy will be different now because of us. The room fell silent. Some species regarded humanity with skepticism, others with curiosity, and still others with admiration. But no one could deny the truth in Dr. Grant's words. Humanity had survived the first wave of galactic conflict, and now, they had to decide how they would shape the future. As the meeting concluded, Dr. Grant and Colonel Harper exchanged a quiet glance. They knew this was only the beginning. The galaxy was vast, and countless challenges awaited them. But humanity had earned its place among the stars. No longer would they be seen as weak or insignificant. The struggle for Earth's survival had ended, and now the fight for its future was just beginning. Earth was no longer just a distant, unknown world. It was a force that would change the galaxy forever.